Okay, great. We're live. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, and I'm going to have my colleagues introduce themselves as well. We just lost someone. And then we're going to hand it over to you all to introduce yourselves as well, because we want to get to know a little bit about you.
Oh, we just lost two.
We just lost two. So what we're going to have everyone do is say their name. If you all could say where you're from, we'll say that as well. And we're going to share our positions as well, but then if you all could share a caring adult in your life, someone that you believe has cared for you and allowed you to succeed, and one quick sentence on why. So my name is Evelyn Santiago. I'm an associate with America's Promise Alliance. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, and I would say that a caring adult in my life is my program manager, Christine Castillo from City Year, because she always allowed me to fall and pick myself up and evaluate the situation.
Sure. Hi, I'm Madeline Bean. I'm an associate here at America's Promise as well. I'm originally from Indiana, and I went to Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is where I had a professor named Dr. Melissa Shue. She was a professor of philosophy, and she was a caring adult in my life and continues to be, because it was about so much more than course curriculum. She really tried to help prepare me for life, not just for whatever was going on in class.
Hi, I'm Brittany Moore. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I'm a manager here at America's Promise, and the caring adult in my life is my mom. And she's just been a huge support system and always encouraged me to follow my own path, even when it wasn't the popular choice.
Great, and now we're going to hand it over to you. So whoever would like to start?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kiana Noland. I'm currently a rising junior at Howard University. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. And a caring adult in my life was Jan Davis, who was the chief professional officer of the Boys and Girls Club that I grew up in, because she told me that it didn't matter where I came from, it didn't matter what my circumstances looked like, that I could succeed through all obstacles.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Watkins Cruz. I'm a recent graduate from UNC Asheville. And a caring adult in my life would be my thesis advisor. He was the one that gave me the confidence to actually deal with a lot of data and numbers and then apply it to causes that I really cared about, such as homelessness. And I did my thesis on homelessness, and he was there for me every single step of the way and truly gave me the confidence and support I needed to know that just because I'm not a big fan of numbers, it doesn't mean it should stop me from diving in and looking into issues that I'm really passionate about.
Tanya or Samara, are you able to introduce yourselves? We would still be able to hear them, though. Samara's got her microphone off, but Tanya seems to be there. Tanya, Samara? Tanya, are you there? All right, they're calling me. So I think they're having a little bit of some difficult technical issues, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you two to have a conversation. We can start in either of the articles that you'd like.
Absolutely. Can we start at the kindergarten article? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so the first thing that stuck out to me when I read this article, and I may be reaching with this, was the prison industrial complex, because there is a pipeline to prison pipeline in our country. And when I read this, that's what immediately came to mind, because by the age of third grade, your test scores can determine whether or not you'll end up in prison. So that really stuck out to me. Seeing these kindergartners have to know so much at such an early age, and they're getting burnt out. And then when you become frustrated with your education, you start to do things. You may act out, but it's normal behavior for a 5- and 6-year-old. So that's what immediately stuck out to me.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. What stuck out to me was this extreme focus on getting to a point where if you can accomplish X, Y, and Z, then you'll be set up for a job. And then if you set up for that job, that's what you'll do, and then you'll make profit. So it seemed like this, I don't know, this kind of trackway to capitalism almost, and just this focus on preparing people to make profit rather than to learn. And I completely agree with you with the prison industrial complex. I think it's setting up a lot of kids for failure, and it's such an early introduction to learning, period. And there's a point in here where it says this is a point where they need to develop the senses, refine the motor skills, learn some important life lessons. So they're not coming in with this already. And so to hold them to that standard is I think leaving a lot of kids behind that may not have had that in the home, and it's not it shouldn't be a burden that's completely placed on the home. It should be a two-way street between home and school. And so I was really troubled by it, and it just seemed really focused on the trade track and the prison industrial system, that pipeline, setting it back further and further, because if these kids are failing from earlier ages, then and they're not learning how to read, et cetera, then I think that's really, really problematic.
Absolutely. I agree as well. And I took some notes because I was really fascinated about this article. So I was like Googling stuff and doing some research. So I looked up what kindergartners should know by the time they leave kindergarten. So on my list of what kindergartners should know, they should know how to follow class rules. They should know how to take turns. They should know how to cut along a dotted line. They should know basic shapes, and they should know their basic numbers. They should know their address. So a lot of things that kindergartners should know are very basic and very simple if we think about it. But in this article, they state how they're putting so much pressure on all of these students at such a young age, and it's very disheartening. But one thing that stuck out to me is when the teacher told her kids, like, hey, when she told the parents, like, hey, this is what your kids are going to know. It's more like first grade. And the impression that the teacher gave me was that she was burnt out before she even started teaching, and I think that's a problem. So often we think about students because, of course, students are the priority, and we think about parents teaching these students, but we also need to think about how educators feel, and immediately I thought about how this educator must feel, because obviously I think that if you're teaching, you're pretty passionate about what you do, but when you burn out at such a young age, well, not at a young age, I apologize, but when you burnt out because society and different organizations are placing rules on you, it can make teaching a lot less fun and a lot less passion. There can be a lot less passion behind it. And also we see things like in Atlanta a couple of months ago, the teachers who were part of a big scheme to cheat on the test scores for students. I think we'll see a lot more cases like that if we just think about test scores, test scores, test scores. How are these kids doing in school when that's not the most important thing? We need to make sure that our kids, no matter what grade they are in, that they have a well-rounded education.
Go ahead.
So, kind of carrying off of that to the second article, was there any connection you saw or any thoughts that you could see relative to what was spoken about there that you wanted to share?
Most definitely. I just graduated from a liberal arts institution, and going into it, I wasn't really aware of the big debate between liberal arts and non-liberal arts, and I didn't understand that. But reading this article, and then I read the other one first because it caught my eye, being a graduate from a liberal arts institution. It really troubled me because coming in from high school, I struggled with things like writing. and I struggled with with things that were, I think, more common at more direct schools, when they're direct to trade schools or direct to career majors and things like that. And I chose political science because I wanted a social science that would veer me away from from numbers and that rigid kind of day-to-day structure. And I wanted to be reading and writing and to understand what was going on and be able to take a lot of things that I could connect together and understand the world and the way the world works a little bit better. And so to see that the creativity that usually you develop at a young age or is encouraged at a young age is starting to be chipped away, I think isn't preparing the students that may end up at a liberal arts education. It's almost hindering them. Coming from a high school that struggled with balancing the arts with academics, my academics suffered a little bit because of the standardized test. You know, on a standardized test, you might not be able to see what kind of student I truly was, and that truly bothered me, which is why I chose the institution I chose. And then when I got there, you know, I wasn't prepared to write and think critically. I wasn't prepared to take an idea from my geology course and then apply it to a political course about urban planning or something along that source. And being able to take big ideas and being able to connect them is really important. And I think going back to kindergarten, I mean, they're not forced to think critically, but being able to understand why they need to know where their address is and building those foundational steps is really important in order for them to make that jump. And without that foundation, it was really troubling to see that, you know, that the creativity is not encouraged anymore. The playtime's not encouraged anymore, and those activities that might support their learning environment, both in the present and in the future, I don't know. I think it's, again, like I said earlier, I think it's setting them up for failure. And in the liberal arts, it's a lot. You have your core requirements, and then you have electives, and then you have another set of requirements that force you to go outside of the major that you chose. So I mentioned the geology course that I took. No reason I'm going to talk about rocks probably ever. And I probably have a lot of more trivia and knowledge that, you know, I thought I would have going into it. But there are a lot of environmental politics that I now understand that I can take into whichever field I go into, and then I can bring into whatever job I have, if it's dealing with the environment or dealing with regional planning and things like that. So I think that cutting away the foundational steps in kindergarten ultimately hurts them down the line. And if they skip those key steps that will allow them to grasp these big ideas eventually, then you're going to miss a huge gap. And they even mentioned it in the article that the divide is just getting bigger and bigger. So
I also noticed that the article mentioned that there was a divide, but I think that when we think about college and when we think about the degrees that we choose, it's important to really base those on the person, because I also looked up, like, when we go to college, for me, when I went to college, I wanted a well-rounded education. I'm a public relations major and a political science minor, and I want to go to law school. So when it was time for me to choose my major, I thought, okay, what's going to prepare me for law school? What's going to help me get some skills in the meantime so I can have great summer internships? So what is something that I can choose that I know I'm gaining skills, but I know that I'm also being readily prepared for law school? So that's why I chose my major, because I'm passionate about communications and passionate about getting a strategic message across to a targeted demographic. So when I was reading this article, I was like, hey, because the title of the article is Should Higher Education Aim to Secure Students a Paycheck, Fulfillment, or Both? And I was like, wow, like, that's really interesting. So I think that kids go to school because obviously you expect a return on your investment, and you expect to, okay, I'm going to go to school for all these years. Either I'm going to pay out of my pocket or I'm going to have scholarships, but what is the end? What is the return on my investment? So I think students, that's something to think about. One, because students do think about that, but I also think that it's college is way more important than thinking about where your career is going to be, because when you go there, just like if we relay this back to kindergartners are expected to know certain things at a certain age. I feel like when you go to college, there's really things that you grasp that you can't get anywhere in any other environment that you ever experience. You meet people from different cultures. You meet all of these people. So I think that instead of focusing on, hey, what's your major, you need to focus on what is the overall impact of your education. And the overall impact is how do you view the world? How is school helping to shape you into a better person? How is school helping you to realize the issues in your community? How is school helping you to realize, hey, this is what I want to do in my future, and this is how I can tie in what's going on in my class, what my professor is saying. I learned this from my roommate. This is how I can tie that in. So I think instead of focusing on, hey, did you get a liberal arts degree? Hey, did you major in math? Did you major in reading or writing? Hey, that's not going to be useful. I think we need to focus on the overall impact of a post-secondary degree, and I think there's so many things that go into that. I have a question for America's Promise Alliance. Since there's only 2 of us on the call, I keep on trying to pause so we can let someone interject, and I don't know if I should keep going. So if you all could let us know where we should go from here.
Oh, that's nice. Yep. I'm just going to try to check and see if Samira, are you able to hear us now? Oh. Okay. Yeah, so the other 2 candidates are having technical issues right now, so it really is just up to you. I know that we've kind of exhausted talking both articles, but I would like to hear what both of your thoughts are on what you could bring to the table in terms of being part of our youth leadership board. What would you as an individual bring? So we can start with you, Kiana, and then move over to Stephanie.
Absolutely. I'm very passionate about kids in our country, and I'm passionate about making sure that all kids, no matter where their circumstances are, no matter what their neighborhoods look like, that they have opportunities to succeed. So the 5 promises that you all believe in, those are basically my personal mission statements. So I believe that I would be a great board of director for America's Promise Alliance because I bring a strong background in youth. I served as the spokesperson for Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and in that role I represented 4 million youth, and I was the voice for the 4 million youth in our country and on military installations across the world. And I know what kids are not every kid, of course, but I know some of the issues that kids are passionate about. And I also am a champion for a local nonprofit organization in my community called Storytime Village, and in that role, basically Storytime Village wants to eliminate the literacy gap between minorities in the state. So in Kansas, I believe the statistic is 83% of African American children are below reading proficiency level, and that is absolutely disheartening. So I work with that organization to make sure, hey, kids know that reading really is fundamental, and we hear that phrase, and it may sound like a cliche, but reading is important, and you have to know how to read to succeed. So in kindergarten up to 3rd grade, you're learning how to read, but after 3rd grade, you're reading to learn. So it's important that from kindergarten to 3rd grade, you are learning those skills so the rest of your educational experience won't be impacted severely by that. You are constantly gaining the skills. But personally, I'm very outspoken, and not negatively outspoken, but I'm not afraid to be assertive and to tell people, hey, this is what I believe in. Hey, these are the issues that kids like me, what we're facing, and this is how we can solve them. One of the things that I've learned just growing up is that there's always a ton of problems going on in our country or in our lives or just in our community, but we can't constantly talk about those problems if we're not actively working towards a solution. So I would definitely like to be a part of this board because I'm absolutely passionate about kids in this country. I'm passionate about making sure that every kid has the same opportunity to succeed. Personally, I grew up in a single-parent household, but I have been fortunate enough to have caring adults adults surrounded by me. I've been fortunate enough to have safe places to go to, the Boys and Girls Club. I've been fortunate to know that with my education I can achieve great things. So I want to be the voice for other young people, and I want to tell them, hey, you can do this. Hey, you need to stay in school. But not only do you need to stay in school, this is how staying in school will really improve your overall life.
I agree with a lot of what Kiana said. I'm very passionate about speaking up for youth. The role that I had in college, especially this past year, I was the president of a nonprofit chapter called She's the First, and I was president of the UNC Asheville chapter. And although it was an international organization raising money for girls' education abroad, it resonated very deeply with me that raising money for these girls to be able to go to school, in the same way that a lot of the times I had to raise money or find money in order for myself to go to school, it resonated really deeply with me. And then in order to connect the gaps, I'm really trying to stretch that liberal arts education and kind of connect my passions with the positions and the things that I go after in life. And so to be on this board, and to be around these leaders and these great people and speak up for the youth and serve as a voice for the youth, I think would be an immense honor. I know what it's like to not have a safe place, or to not know if you have a safe place. And much like what Kiana said, that they need to stay in school, I want to be able to tell them that they can stay in school, because ultimately when you're going through a lot of things, when you don't have a safe place, when you don't recognize that you have caring adults around you, they don't recognize that they can stay in school, that there are ways. And I believe that the people that are serving on the boards, that are in the midst of their career, at the peaks of their career, I think that having someone like myself, who is very passionate, who is young, who is still going through living in transitional housing and trying to explore the system and continuing my education and trying to grasp all these opportunities, I think I have a very personal investment in helping other kids find their opportunities and find their path to continuing their education, to recognizing the caring adults in their life, and to reaching out to others as well. And I also think that, much like Kiana said, I'm very passionate about working in minority communities. I worked with the I Have a Dream program, which is now the Urban Mentoring Academy in Asheville, North Carolina, and seeing those kids when they were living in public housing and hearing some of the stories that they had at school, which, some of it was about testing and some of it was about the teacher not understanding or not being able to relate to them. Being able to serve on a board that could speak to that, or could provide maybe some guidance for teachers and educators on how to relate to their students better, or how to create more of a sense of community in the classroom rather than a sense of being enclosed or something along those lines. I'm very, very passionate about seeing kids realize their full potential, and for realizing that school can be a safe place and is a safe place. But again, it's just all about recognizing the caring people around them. And then seeing younger students, that's something else I'm really passionate about, is reaching out to younger students. So students that are going through something of their own, when they find their standing, when they find their foothold, and they know of other students going through the same thing, you see a cycle begin to start, and they can then help those younger students identify those caring people, identify school as a safe place, almost as an escape like I felt when I was growing up. And I just think that being on this board is just a huge step in the right direction. It's not only about fulfilling my own passions, but serving an amazing cause, serving the youth of this nation that are going through a lot, and to be able to speak to that, and to advise and to find creative manners in which to address the issues that are going on and that are complex and intricate, I think is a battle worth fighting.
Thank you so much both for sharing. Does anyone have any kind of a final question? We need to be wrapping up shortly, but I don't know if anyone. No? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, hi. I joined a little bit late. My name is Melinda Hudson. I'm a member of the staff here at America's Promise. I wanted to ask you, serving on a 2-year board term, what do you expect to both leave this organization with, pardon the grammar. I too had a liberal arts education, and my grammar should show a lot better. What do you want to leave this organization with, and what do you want to take with you?
Well, for me, what I would like to leave this organization with is I would like to make sure that I'm making an impact on the overall nation. I've gone through the website and I've looked at what America's Promise Alliance does and looked at what they believe in and looked at their different partners. So for me, I want to continue to build different coalitions. I want to continue to build different partnerships with organizations. And for me, being on this board, what I would like to gain is just like Stephanie mentioned, it's to show other young people that you can do it. It is possible. So I would like to be a voice. I can bring a lot of experience to the table. I've served on boards and I've represented kids, but basically I would like to be a voice and to be that person that says you can do it and here's what I have to offer and I can show you this. And I want to work with those adults because so often there's so many adults that think they know what kids need and they think that, hey, this is the proven factor and this is what we need to do for these communities, but it's kind of hard if you didn't grow up in that community. It's difficult to know what kids need if you're not actively engaging with different youth. So I would like to be that voice to bring the youth perspective, to bring the community perspective, to bring the minority single parent, growing up in a single parent household, growing up in poverty, to bring that perspective as a college student in the honors program. There's just so much that I could bring to this organization. But what I would like to take away is to ultimately build great connections with the different people that serve on this board. I would like to leave an impact. Impact is a word that I keep on throwing around, but I think that it's so critical to our country. There's so much going on in our country. We can turn on the news and we see so much. We see young kids that are protesting in the streets. We see young kids that are getting shot. We see young people who the odds seem to be against them. I recently read a story about a senior in high school who had just graduated, but she got pregnant at the age of 14 or 13 or something. So there's so many things that go on in our country, and basically this sounds really like save the world, but I really do want to make our country a better place, and I really want to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that young people have every single opportunity to succeed, no matter what they're going through, no matter if you grow up in poverty, no matter if you grow up in great circumstances, your neighborhoods, your socioeconomic status, your religious beliefs, none of these things should be the defining factor in your success. So I really want to make sure that people know that. So what I'll take away from this, serving on this board, if I was chosen after those 2 years, what I can take away is the saying, hey, I made a difference in someone's life. And if I can make a difference in one person's life or 10 people's life, I would feel like I'm doing a great service to this country, to my community, to my college campus.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing, both of you.
Oh, we didn't hear from. We didn't
Sorry,
hear from
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
You're good. I agree with a lot of what Kiana said again. I think what I would like to leave the organization with is a continuance of a mantra of creativity. There are so many possible creative connections and solutions to the problems that the Alliance works on, and I think that it's really important in utilizing young leaders like myself to our full potential and to be able to realize that there are so many different ways, taking the old solutions that have been working but might need to be developed a little bit, thinking of something new, connecting in the middle, making creative partnerships in ways that are more comprehensive to truly address the problem that we're focusing on, but potentially address several other problems that are almost the ripple effect of one problem. One thing that I'm speaking of is, you have a safe place, and that then can affect how you do in school. So affecting to be able to impact this organization and just encouraging creative connection, encouraging comprehensive collaboration, and encouraging creative solutions to these problems that are sustainable, but that are also encouraging to the youth and to the board members, I think is really important. And I'm a firm believer in that, and I would love to lead the board with that, and as just an encourager and advocate and cheerleader for that. Something that I would like to gain the connections. The people that are on these boards are leaders that I know I look up to. Their careers and what they dedicate their lives to are the same issues that I want to dedicate my life to. And so to be able to work alongside of them is something that I really, really look forward to, and just to soak up all of that knowledge, because I'm just beginning. Just because I've graduated from college and I'm about to start graduate school, I'm a very self-directed learner. Like the article mentioned, I'm a huge advocate from learning from every single experience that you have and learning from all the people that you can. And I've learned a lot of what I'm speaking of today from people that I look up to. And I just look forward to the opportunity to work alongside these leaders and these advocates for these issues that I too believe in. And I'm starting to trying to pave out my path and pave out my direction to dedicate my life to it, to become a public servant. Ultimately, yeah, the connections, the experience, the opportunities to learn, to grow, to fall, to get back up. This board does a lot of good work, and I admire it and every single thing that it dedicates itself to.
Thank you. Sorry for the mistake earlier. So I just wanted to go ahead and discuss some of our next steps. We do have 2, potentially 3 now, other discussions to host. And so we will be having those with other candidates later this week. After that, you will be hearing from us regarding if there will be a final interview, or if we'd just like to thank you for your time and encourage you to apply for the following year. But just please give us 2 or 3 weeks to follow up with you. We are wrapping up this process in August, so there is a bit of a time frame for you to hear back from us. In case you don't hear back from us in 2 to 3 weeks, know that you will receive a final confirmation email regarding your application status. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or Madeline, and I will be sending her email to you shortly. And we'll be happy to answer any questions. Do you all have any questions right now for us?
I just had a final thought. I feel like this is near the end of the discussion. I just wanted to thank you all for your time, and I also wanted to thank Stephanie. I've learned so much from you, and you seem very passionate. So this discussion was very enlightening for me, and it was so great to hear from you. And thank you all for taking the time out of your day to do this, and I'm happy that I could be a part of it.
Yeah, I have to echo that, Kiana. You said a lot of wonderful things, and I'm all for the poli-sci minor, so go ahead with that. I've learned a lot about from what you said, and you're very passionate, very passionate, and I can tell you're a strong leader, and I wish you the best. Keep going. I know junior year is probably a little bit rough. It was rough for me, so you're so close. Keep going. And thank you all for the opportunity again. When I found out about this organization, I was thrilled for the opportunity to just apply. And then when I received the email to do this, I mean, it's just a great opportunity just to be able to speak to you all. And thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you do, because what you all do is very important.
Thank you. Great. So we will be in touch. Thanks so much for participating today.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Have a great day.